July 2026, Ujjain. 3 municipal workers climb into a confined sewer chamber for maintenance. They carry no gas masks, no safety harnesses, and no gas detectors. Within minutes, all 3 men inhale high concentrations of toxic gas and lose consciousness. By the time they reach a local hospital, 1 worker is dead and 2 remain in critical condition. Similar fatalities have recently occurred in Faridabad, Delhi, Ludhiana, Surat, and Odisha. The National Human Rights Commission has taken suo motu cognizance of the Ujjain tragedy, demanding a comprehensive report. The structural failure is national. As the newly appointed district magistrate for this district, you receive a direct phone call. The local municipal commissioner pressures you to quiet the situation down quickly, prioritizing the municipality's image right before an upcoming local election. The district magistrate sits at the intersection of a grieving family, a negligent contractor, and an impending election. Personal empathy provides the motivation to act, but it offers no protection against political retaliation or procedural loopholes. To maintain both the law and personal integrity, the response must be built on a structured, defensible logic. We resolve this by applying a 6-step administrative matrix. This framework processes chaotic real-world variables into defensible policy actions. Step 1 isolates objective facts from assumptions. Step 2 maps every stakeholder affected by the outcome, from the private contractor to the victim's family and society at large. Step 3 identifies the competing ethical dilemmas, isolating the exact values in conflict. Step 4 maps the available administrative options, weighing the institutional pros and cons of each path. Step 5 grounds your final decision in classical ethical theory. Step 6 translates that decision into execution through a dual-layered action plan, balancing immediate triage with long-term systemic reform. This sequence documents the reasoning process expected of senior administrators. It converts a high-pressure crisis into a series of objective, repeatable steps. Here is how that applies to the Ujjain case study. Step 1 reveals a clear contractual violation. The municipal contract explicitly mandated the provision of protective gear, yet the private contractor entirely ignored this stipulation on the ground. Step 2 requires us to look at the stakeholders. The primary casualty is the victim's family. They have lost their sole breadwinner and have received 0 compensation. The administrative failure is explicit. The local municipal supervisor knew the contractor routinely bypassed safety protocols. The supervisor allowed the violations to continue because the resulting work was cheaper and finished faster. The state is not a passive observer here. By elevating schedule and budget above human safety, the local administration became an active, complicit stakeholder in the worker's death. This brings us to step 3. The primary ethical dilemma is the clash between administrative convenience and human dignity. We resolve this using Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative. Humanity must always be treated as an end, never merely as a means. The supervisor's logic fails this. Forcing an unprotected worker into a hazard treats a human life entirely as a disposable tool to achieve a municipal target. The secondary dilemma is accountability failure. The United Kingdom's Nolan Committee outlines the 7 principles of public life. The contractor's negligence and the supervisor's silent approval directly violate the principle of integrity. A system that optimizes for cheap efficiency at the expense of ethical integrity guarantees fatal institutional rot. There is an undeniable demographic reality to this labor. Government data from the Namaste scheme reveals that approximately 68% of workers cleaning sewers and septic tanks belong to scheduled caste communities. Article 17 of the Constitution abolished untouchability to prevent exactly this, the systematic degradation of human life based on caste. Using marginalized labor for hazardous tasks without protection directly violates that constitutional mandate. Yet, the municipal commissioner is demanding a cover-up to protect electoral optics. As a civil servant, yielding to this pressure makes you an accessory to the violation of Article 17. We dismantle this political pressure using political philosopher John Rawls' concept of the veil of ignorance. Rawls argues that true justice is determined by decision-makers who do not know their own position in society. If the commissioner did not know whether he would be born as the politician, the contractor, or the man lowered into the toxic chamber, he would never authorize a system devoid of safety gear. Constitutional morality provides the shield. It empowers the district magistrate to reject hierarchical pressure that compromises fundamental human rights. Step 6 splits your response into 2 phases. The first is the immediate statutory strike. A district magistrate begins with legally binding interventions. First, criminal accountability. You must register an FIR against the contractor under the 2013 Act and relevant penal sections. Next is the financial imperative. Following the Supreme Court's 2023 directives, the victim's family is legally entitled to a compensation package of 30 lakh rupees for a sewer death. You must ensure this is disbursed immediately, bypassing bureaucratic delays. Simultaneously, execute administrative punitive measures. Blacklist the private contractor for violating the safety clauses of the contract, and initiate strict departmental proceedings against the complicit municipal supervisor. Effective crisis response relies on swift, precise application of the rule of law, not on displays of pity. Crisis management stops the bleeding. Preventing the next tragedy requires systemic policy. The primary vehicle is the district-wide implementation of the Namaste scheme. This mandates a transition to 100% mechanized cleaning and establishing certified emergency response sanitation units with protective gear. The final pillar is active rehabilitation. Following the mandate of the Safai Karmchari Andolan judgment, the state must provide the victim's family with skills training and alternative livelihood options, breaking the intergenerational cycle of hazardous labor. True resolution dismantles the administrative reliance on vulnerable human labor, replacing it entirely with mechanized, institutional safeguards. Return to the local supervisor's initial defense. Skipping safety checks was the cheapest, fastest way to clear the municipal backlog. Philosopher John Stuart Mill helps us dismantle this. The supervisor's defense is a catastrophic misinterpretation of utilitarianism, optimizing only for the immediate present. True utility in public policy calculates the massive long-term societal costs. A quickly cleaned sewer chamber cannot offset the loss of a human life, the devastation of a family, the cost of legal retribution, and the total collapse of institutional trust. Administrative shortcuts represent a false economy. Authentic utilitarianism demands the protection of long-term human capital over short-term task completion. The Ujjain case reveals a stark reality. The protective laws existed perfectly on paper, but human dignity was entirely absent on the ground. The matrix bridges this specific gap, forcing abstract legal theory to materialize as concrete administrative action. When structuring your exam response, apply this exact division. Always separate your immediate statutory interventions from your long-term policy reforms. Anchor your arguments in hard data. Citing the 30 lakh rupee Supreme Court compensation order or detailing the pillars of the Namaste scheme proves your competence far better than generic statements of empathy. Effective administration is the result of structured reasoning. By using this 6-step framework, a district magistrate ensures that constitutional values are not just debated in courtrooms, but enforced in the field.